This video is about AWS Cloud Practitioner Foundation. In this video we will learn about AWS Global Infrastructure and its different types. This is for anyone preparing for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. AWS Global Infrastructure. We're talking about here is AWS data center hardware, and understanding how AWS organizes its infrastructure around the world. The AWS infrastructure is built around regions and availability zones, AZs. The different types of AWS global infrastructure, which includes 1. Regions. 2. Availability zones. 3. Edge locations. 4. Regional edge caches. First, region. A region is a geographical area. Each region consists of 2 or more availability zones. Each Amazon region is designed to be completely isolated from the other Amazon regions. Each AWS region has multiple availability zones and data centers connected to each other through links. By using private or public internet connections, you can replicate data within a region and between regions, and you retain complete control and ownership over the region in which your data is physically located, making it easy to meet regional compliance and data residency requirements. Note that there is a charge for data transfer between regions. When you launch an EC2 instance, you must select an AMI that's in the same region. If the AMI is in another region, you can copy the AMI to the region you're using. Second global infrastructure is availability zone. An availability zone is a facility that can be somewhere in a country or in a city. Inside this facility, for example, data center, we can have multiple servers, switches, load balancing, firewalls. The things which interact with the cloud sits inside the data centers. An availability zone can be several data centers, but if they are close together, they are counted as one availability zone. Availability zones are physically separate and isolated from each other. Availability zones span one or more data centers and have direct, low latency, high throughput, and redundant network connections between each other. Each availability zones is designed as an independent failure zone. When you launch an instance, you can select an availability zone or let AWS choose one for you. If you distribute your EC2 instances across multiple availability zones and one instance fails, you can design your application so that an instance in another availability zone can handle requests. However, you can also use elastic IP addresses to mask the failure of an instance in one availability zone by rapidly remapping the address to an instance in another availability zone. An availability zone is represented by a region code followed by a letter identifier, for example, US East 1A. To ensure that resources are distributed across the availability zones for a region, AWS independently map availability zones to names for each AWS account. The availability zone US East 1A for your AWS account might not be the same location as US East 1A for another AWS account. To coordinate availability zones across accounts, you must use the AZ ID, which is a unique and consistent identifier for an availability zone. Availability zones are physically separated within a typical metropolitan region and are in lower risk floodplains. Availability zones use discrete UPS and on-site backup generation facilities and are fed via different grids from independent facilities. Availability zones are all redundantly connected to multiple Tier 1 transit providers. After region and availability zone, third global infrastructure is edge locations. Edge locations are the endpoints for AWS used for caching content. Edge locations consist of CloudFront, Amazon's Content Delivery Network, CDN. Edge locations are more than regions. Currently, there are over 150 edge locations. Edge location is not a region but a small location that AWS have. Edge locations are mainly located in most of the major cities to distribute the content to end users with reduced latency. For example, some user accesses your website from Singapore, then this request would be redirected to the edge location closest to Singapore where cached data can be read. Edge locations are not used to deploy your main infrastructure, such as EC2 instances, EBS storage, VPCs or RDS resources, like within AZs. They are used by AWS services such as AWS CloudFront to cache data and reduce latency for end-user access by using the edge locations as a global content delivery network, a CDN. As a result, edge locations are primarily used by end users who are accessing and using your services. Fourth and last AWS global infrastructure is regional edge cache. AWS announced a new type of edge location in November 2016, known as a regional edge cache. Regional edge cache lies between CloudFront origin servers and the edge locations. A regional edge cache has a large cache than an individual edge location. Data is removed from the cache at the edge location while the data is retained at the regional edge caches. When the user requests the data, then data is no longer available at the edge location. Therefore, the edge location retrieves the cached data from the regional edge cache instead of the origin servers that have high latency. We learned in this video about AWS Global Infrastructure and its four components. Please like, subscribe and press bell icon. Thank you for watching this video.